The 18th Emergency, Chapter 2. Hey, Mouse. It was Ezzy. He got up from the sofa quickly and went back to the window. What? He called back. Come on down. His mother said in the kitchen, You've got to eat. I've got to eat, Ezzy. Well, hurry up and I'll wait. He stood up at the window and watched Ezzy sit down on the steps. The dog had finished with his Cracker Jacks and was now sitting in front of Ezzy, looking at him hopefully. The smell of chicken and noodles was coming from one of the windows, and the dog thought it was coming from Ezzy. The dog wanted some chicken and noodles so badly that his nose had started to run. Ezzy patted the dog once. I've not got anything, he told him, and quit looking at me. Once the dog had looked at Ezzy so long, Ezzy had gone into the house and fixed him a deviled egg sandwich. I've not got anything, Ezzy said again, and he turned his head away. Ezzy had named the dog Garbage Dog because of his eating habits. Go on. Slowly, Garbage Dog got up. He circled once like a radar finder and then began to move slowly in the direction of the chicken and noodles. Come to supper, Mouse's mother called. He went into the kitchen where his mother was putting the food on the table. She sat down, spread a paper napkin on her lap and said, Why doesn't Ezzy help you with those boys? What? Why doesn't Ezzy help you fight with those boys? She repeated, nodding her head towards the window. Oh, Mum. I mean it. If there were two of you, then those boys would think twice before... Oh, Mum. He bent over his plate and began to smash his lima beans with a fork. He thought about it for a moment, of stepping in front of Marv Hammerman and Tony Leone and the boy in the black sweatshirt and saying in a cool voice, I think I'd better warn you. I've got a friend with me. Who's your friend? This is my friend. At that, Ezzy would step out from the shadows and stand with him. Marv Hammerman would look at them, sizing them up, the two of them, this duo his mother had created for strength. Then, with a faint smile, Hammerman would reach out, grab them up like cymbals and clang them together. When Hammerman set them down, they would twang for 45 minutes before they could stumble off. Well, I do know what I'm talking about, that's all, his mother said. If you could get Ezzy to help you... Right, Mum, I'll ask him. He ate 4 lima beans and looked at his mother. Is that enough? I'm not hungry. Eat. He thought he was going to choke. Emergency number 5. Being choked by a boa constrictor. When you were being strangled by a boa constrictor, Ezzy had said, what you must do was taunt the boa constrictor and get him to bite you instead of strangle you. His bite, Eddie admitted, was a little painful, but being strangled was worse. This had seemed a first-rate survival measure at the time. Now he had trouble imagining him and Ezzy in the jungle being squeezed by a boa constrictor. He tried to imagine Ezzy's face pink and earnest above the boa constrictor's loop. He tried to hear Ezzy's voices taunting. Sure, you can strangle, but can you bite? Let's see you try and bite me. Hey, Mouse, you come in. Ezzy had opened the door to the hall now, and his voice came up the stairs as though it was through a megaphone. I'll eat the rest later, Mouse said to his mum. He was already out of the chair and moving towards the door. Oh, all right, his mother said. Go on. He ran quickly out of the apartment and down the stairs. Ezzy was waiting for him outside, sitting down. As soon as he saw Mouse, Ezzy got up and said, Hey, what happened? Where'd you go after school? Hammerman's after me. Ezzy's pink mouth formed a perfect O. He didn't say anything, but his breath finally came out in a long, sympathetic wheeze. Finally, he said, Marv Hammerman. Even though he knew there was only one Hammerman in the world, just as there had only been one Hitler. Yeah, he's after you. Mouse nodded. Sunk in misery, he could see Marv Hammerman. He came up in Mouse's mind the way monsters do in horror movies. Big, powerful, and the same cold, unreal eyes. It was the eyes that Mouse really feared. One look from those eyes, he thought. Just one look of a certain length, about 3 seconds, and you knew you were his next victim. What did you do? Ezzy asked. Or did you do anything? At least, Mouse thought, Ezzy understood that if you were Marv Hammerman, you didn't need a reason. He sat down on the steps and squinted up at Ezzy. I did something, he said. What? Ezzy asked. His tongue flicked out so quickly it didn't even moisten his lips. What did you do? Did you bump into him or something? No, Mouse said. What? What did you do? Mouse said, you know that big chart in the upstairs hall in school? What did you say? I can't even hear you. You're muttering. Ezzy bent closer. Look at me. Now, what did you say? Mouse looked up, still squinting. Well, you know that big chart outside the history room, in the hall? Chart? Said Ezzy blankly. What chart, Mouse? The chart that takes up the whole wall. How could you miss it? It's a chart about early man, and it shows man's progress up from the apes. The side view of all those different kinds of prehistoric men, like Cro-Magnon men and Homo erectus. That chart. Oh, yeah, I saw that chart. Go on. Mouse could see that Ezzy was eager for him to get on the good part, the violence. He slumped. He wet his lips. He said, well, when I was passing the chart on my way out of history, I don't know why I did it, Ezzy. I really don't know, but when I was passing this chart, I was on my way to maths. He swallowed, almost choking on his spit. Well, when I was passing this chart, I took out my pencil and I wrote Marv Hammerman's name on the bottom of the chart, and then I drew an arrow to the picture of the Neanderthal man. What? Ezzy cried. What? He could not seem to take it in. Mouse knew that Ezzy had been prepared to sympathise with an accident. He'd almost been the victim of one of those himself, because one day at school, Ezzy had reached for the handle of the water fountain, a second ahead of Marv. And if Ezzy hadn't glanced up just in time, seen Hammerman, and said quickly, go ahead, I'm not thirsty, then this sagging figure on the steps might have been him. Oh, Mouse, what did you do that for? I don't know. Are you crazy or something? I don't know. Marv Hammerman, Ezzy sighed. It was a mournful sound that seemed to have come from a culture used to sorrow. Anybody else in school would have been better. I would rather have the principal after me than Marv Hammerman. I know. Hammerman's big, Mouse. He's flunked a lot. I know. Mouse said again. There was an unwritten law that it was all right to fight anyone in your own grade. The fact that Hammerman was older and stronger made no difference. They were both in 6th grade. Then what did you do it for? Ezzy asked. I don't know. You must want trouble, Ezzy said. Like my grandfather. He's always provoking people. The bus driver won't even pick him up anymore. No, I don't want any trouble. Then why did you... I don't know. He sagged again and said, I don't even know why I did it, really. Until I'd finished, I just looked at a picture of the Neanderthal man and I thought of Hammerman. It does look like him, Ezzy. The sloping face, the shoulders. Well, maybe Hammerman doesn't know you did it, though, Ezzy said. Did you ever think of that? I mean, who's going to go up to Hammerman and tell him his name is on the prehistoric man chart? Ezzy leaned forward. Hey, Hammerman, he said, intimidating the imaginary fool. I saw a funny thing about a prehistoric man earlier. Now, who in their right mind is going to go and tell him that? He was right behind me when I did it, Mouse said. What? He was right behind me, Mouse said. He could remember turning and looking into Hammerman's eyes. It was such a strange, troubling moment that Mouse was unable to think about it. Ezzy's mouth formed that O. The sympathetic sigh came again. Then he said, and you don't know why you did it? No. Ezzy sank down onto the steps beside Mouse. He leaned over his knees and said, you ought to get out of the habit of that, Mouse. Writing names, drawing arrows, you know that. I see those arrows everywhere. I'll be walking down the street and I'll look at a building and I'll see the word door written in little letters and there'll be an arrow pointing to the door and I know you did it. It's crazy that you keep labelling things like this. I never did that, Ez. Not to a door. Better to a door if you ask me, as he said, shaking his head. He paused for a moment and asked in a lower voice. Mouse, have you ever been hit before? I mean, hard. Mouse sighed. The conversation had now passed beyond the question of whether Hammond would attack. It was now a matter of whether he, Mouse Forley, could survive the attack. He said thickly, remembering. 4 times. 4 times in one fight. I mean, you stood up to 4 hits, Mouse. There was a grudging admiration in his voice. No. 4 hits. 4 fights. You went down each time. I mean, pow, and you went down. Pow, you went down. Pow, you went... Yes. Where did you take these hits? Ezzy asked, straightening suddenly. Ezzy had never taken a single direct blow in his life because he was a good dodger. Sometimes his mother chased him through the apartment, striking at him while he dodged and ducked, crying, "Look out, Mum, look out, now, you're going to hit me." He asked again, "Where were you hit?" Mouse, in the stomach. All 4 times. Yeah. Mouse suddenly thought of the stomach, having a big red circular target on it and said, "Hit here." Pointed to the centre. Who hit you? 2 boys in Cincinnati when I was on vacation, and a boy named Mickey Swearinger, and somebody else I don't remember. He lowered his head, because he did remember the 4th person, but he didn't want to tell Ezzy about it. If he added the name of Viola Angotti to the list who had hit him in the stomach, he'd never live it down. Ezzy's face would have screwed up with laughter. "Viola Angotti hit you? No fooling! Viola Angotti!" It was a sort of thing that Ezzy could carry on about for hours. "Violet Angotti! The Violet Angotti!" And Mouse would have had to keep sitting there saying over and over again, "Yes, Viola Angotti. Yeah, she hit me in the stomach. Yes, the Violet Angotti." And then he would have to tell Ezzy about it. Every detail, how one recess long ago, the boys had decided to put some girls in the school trash cans. And it'd been one of those suggestions that stuns everyone with its rightness. Someone had said, "Hey, let's put those girls over there in the trash cans." And the plan won immediate acceptance. Nothing could have been more appropriate. The trash cans were big and they'd just been emptied. So, within an instant, the boys were off chasing the girls and yelling at the top of their lungs. And it'd been wonderful at first, Mouse remembered. Primitive blood had raced through his body. The desire to capture had driven him like a wild man through the schoolyard, up the sidewalk, everywhere. He understood what the caveman and the barbarian had in common because they had the same passion that was driving him. Putting the girls in the trash cans was the most important challenge of his life. His long, screaming charge ended up with him red-faced and gasping for breath. And with Viola Angotti pinned up against the garbage cans. His moment of triumph was short. It lasted about 2 seconds. Then it began to dim as he realised, first, that it was Viola Angotti, and second, that he was not going to be able to get her into the garbage can without a great deal of help. So he cried, "Hey guys, come on, I've got one!" But behind him the schoolyard was silent. Where was everyone, he wondered uneasily. As it turned out, the principal had caught the other boys, and they were all being marched back into the front door of the school. But Mouse didn't know this. "Come on guys, get the lid off his garbage can, will you?" And then, when he said that, Viola Angotti had taken 2 steps forward. She said, "Nobody's putting me into a garbage can." He could still remember how she had looked standing there. She had recently taken the part of the Statue of Liberty in the class play, and somehow she seemed taller and stronger. "Hey, guys, where are you? Where are you?" It was a plea. And then Viola Angotti had taken one more step, and with a faint sigh, she had socked him in the stomach, so hard that he doubled over and lost his lunch. He had known it was possible to be hit like that, but never outside of a boxing ring. It was the hardest blow that he'd ever taken. Viola Angotti could be the heavyweight champion of the world. And as she walked past his crumpled body, she had said again, "Nobody's putting me in no garbage can." And it sounded like one of those world's basic truths. The sun will rise, the tides will flow, nobody's putting Viola Angotti into a garbage can. Later, when he thought about it, he realised that he'd been very lucky. If she had wanted to, Viola Angotti could have capped her victory by tossing his ragdoll body into the garbage can and slamming down the lid. Then, when the principal came out into the playground calling, "Benjamin Forley! Has anyone seen Benjamin Forley?" he would have had to climb out of the garbage can in front of the whole school. His shame would have followed him for life. When he was a grown man, people would still be pointing at him and saying to their child, "That's the man that Viola Angotti stuffed into the garbage can." Now he thought that Marv Hammerman could make Viola Angotti's blow seem like a baby's pat. He wanted to double over. You ought to watch out for your stomach like a fighter. Protect your body. There's a lot of valuable stuff inside there. I know. The trick of it, Ezzy said, is moving quickly, ducking, getting out of the way. Ezzy did a few quick steps, his feet flashing on the sidewalk. "You dance, Mouse, like this." Mouse suddenly remembered that Ezzy had once told him that if you were ever bitten by a tarantula, emergency number 6, you had to start dancing immediately. Ezzy said you were supposed to do this special Italian folk dance, but any quick, lively steps would probably do. Mouse had a picture of himself doing this lively dance in front of Hammerman. Hammerman would watch for a moment. There would be no expression in his face. The dance would reach a peak. Mouse's arms and legs would be a blur of motion. And then Hammerman would reach down, a sort of slow, graceful movement like he was bowling, and come up effortlessly right into Mouse's stomach. Mouse leaned forward, shielding his body with his arms. He cleared his throat. "Did anybody hit you, Ezzy?" Ezzy stopped dancing. "Sure." "Who?" "Well, relatives mostly. You can hardly walk through my living room without somebody trying to hit you. Very little thing. I accidentally stepped on my sister's foot. She's got long feet, Mouse, and she can't hardly buy any ordinary shoes, and when she is, it's an insult if you step on one of them. She's fast too, Mouse. That's how I learned about getting out of the way." "But nobody like Hammerman's ever hit you?" "No," he said apologetically. Mouse sighed. Above him, his mother called, "Benji, come up now. I want you to do something for me." "I've got to go," Mouse said, still sat there. He hated to leave the warmth of Ezzy's understanding. Ezzy didn't want to leave either. Mouse had taken on a fine, tragic dimension in his eyes, and there was something about being with a person like that that made him feel good. Ezzy had felt the same way about their teacher last fall when he had told them they had to go to hospital. For the first time, Mr. Steen, in his baggy suit, seemed like a fine, tragic figure, bigger than life. Ezzy would have done anything for Mr. Steen that day. But then, when Mr. Steen came limping back the next week, it turned out that he had had some bone spurs removed from his heels. He had been the normal size. "Benji, come up now," his mother called again. "Coming." "Did you tell your mum about Hammerman?" "Yeah." "What did she say?" He tried to think about the most impossible statement his mother had said. "She said I'd laugh about it in a week or two." "Laugh about it?" "Yeah, through my bandages in hospital." Ezzy's face twisted into a little smile. "Hey, remember Al Armsby when he had those 2 broken ribs? Remember how he would beg us not to make him laugh? I had this one joke about a monkey, and I would keep telling it, and I'd keep telling it, and he was practically on his knees, begging for mercy." Mouse got slowly to his feet. "I'd better go." Ezzy stopped smiling. "Hey, wait a minute. Just listen. I just remembered something. I know a boy that Hammerman beat up, and he did say it wasn't too bad." "Who?" "It was a friend of my brother's. I'll find out and I'll let you know." "All right," Mouse said. He did not allow himself to believe it was true. Sometimes Ezzy lied like this out of sympathy. If you said, "My stomach hurts, I think I'm going to die," Ezzy, and if he really liked you, Ezzy would say, "I know a boy whose stomach hurt worse than that, and he didn't die." And if you said who, Ezzy would say, "A friend of my brother's." Ezzy's brother only had one friend that Mouse knew, and this friend would have had to have daily brushes with death to fulfill all of Ezzy's statements. Still, it had made Mouse want to cry for a moment that Ezzy would lie to spare him. Or maybe he wanted to cry because Hammerman was going to kill him. I don't know. So he said, "Thanks, Ez." He turned and walked quickly into the apartment building. That was chapter 2 of The 18th Emergency by Betsy Byers. Okay, thank you, Year 6. I look forward to releasing chapter 3 tomorrow. Goodbye.